presidential hopefuls will face off in a debate this Saturday. The WHO is pleading with big economy countries to stop hoarding COVID-19 vaccines. And historic snowstorms kill 4 in Spain. Hello and welcome to TeleSUR. I'm Doris Polo in Quito, Ecuador, and this is from the south. Ecuador will hold its first presidential debate this Saturday in the midst of a dispute over the potential removal of all 4 councillors from the board of the National Electoral Council. The debate is organized by private media and will focus on topics such as the economy, employment, public health, and public safety. The presidential candidates will have 1 minute and 30 seconds each to present their proposals and an extra minute for rebuttals. The Union for Hope candidate Andres Arauz, who currently leads the polls, says he will not be taking part in the debate. Trinidad and Tobago's Prime Minister will spend a second night in hospital after undergoing an angiogram and subsequent angioplasty this Saturday. A statement from the Office of the Prime Minister noted that Dr. Keith Rowley was resting comfortably following the procedure, which uses a tiny balloon catheter to open clogged arteries. Around 5 p.m. on Friday, the recently appointed chair of the Caribbean community felt discomfort and was rushed to a private medical facility. He is said to be in good spirits.
At this stage, as I say, the Prime Minister, he had some discomfort. He took the precautionary measure of coming in for a checkup, and that's what's happened. And of course, as you would expect, the doctors just want to run some more tests, and they will do what they have to do.
As far as you're aware, is this the first time he had such discomfort?
I don't know the Prime Minister's medical history, nor would I speculate on it. But I mean, I've been with him and he has been fully coherent. I mean, it is the Prime Minister. He's carrying on conversation, joking and this type of thing. He's in a good state. The affairs of government continue exactly as they are at this stage. The Prime Minister is the Prime Minister. I've been in touch with my other colleagues in the cabinet. We all continue to pray for him, and we all know the job that we have to do, which is our various ministerial portfolios. All correspondence coming out would come out from the Office of the Prime Minister going forward, as just happened, and we just continue to wait. At this stage is an overnight observation.
Meanwhile, opposition leader Kamala Persad-Bissessy extended well wishes to Dr. Rowley. She said, "I wish Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley a swift and full recovery. My thoughts and prayers are with him and his family." Continuing with Caribbean news, Barbados Prime Minister Mia Amor Motley says her government has reached out to Cuba for assistance to control a surge in COVID-19 cases that stemmed from a party on a bus on December 26th. On Friday, the country recorded 39 new COVID-19 cases, pushing the cumulative number of positives to 780, with 385 recoveries and 7 deaths.
We have been in contact with the Cuban government, and we have requested a number of additional doctors and specialists in particular, 2 communicable disease specialists, 2 respiratory disease specialists, 2 intensive care specialists, 2 anesthesiologists, 1 respiratory therapist, and for the lab, we've also requested 4 lab technicians who speak English to be able to assist us in the lab at the Dos Santos lab.
Well, the announcement by Haiti's Electoral Council that elections will take place in 8 months has further complicated an already volatile political situation, prompting condemnation from organizations across the country. The Electoral Authority has announced that the vote on the controversial constitutional referendum to strengthen the powers of the president will take place on April 25th, while general elections are carded for September 19th. Social organizations and opposition parties have rejected the declaration and have called on people to take to the streets. The Je Claire group in particular decried that insecurity in the Caribbean country has been aggravated by this proclamation. Venezuela has approved the establishment of a new maritime territory for the creation of the Atlantic Seaboard Strategic Development Zone as part of measures to defend the country's sovereignty. President Nicolas Maduro signed the decree during a meeting with the National Defense Council. The president explained that the measure is part of policies to defend the country's continental space, interior marine areas, historical borders, and the resources discovered within them. The approval of the decree comes in the face of the ongoing territorial dispute with Guyana regarding the demarcation of their border and the Essequibo region. With that, we'll take a short break now. Join us again in a minute. Welcome back. The World Health Organization has urged rich countries to stop jumping the queue and making bilateral deals for the first wave of COVID-19 vaccines. WHO Director General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus called on nations that have booked vaccine doses in excess to donate them to the globally shared COVAX facility, which aims to distribute coronavirus jabs equitably around the world. He added that 42 countries have started rolling out their COVID-19 vaccination programs, 36 of them being high-income nations, while the remaining 6 are middle-income states.
At present, 42 countries are rolling out safe and effective COVID-19 vaccines. 36 of these are high-income countries, and 6 are middle-income countries. So there is a clear problem that low and most middle-income countries are not receiving the vaccine yet. Vaccine nationalism hurts us all and is self-defeating. But on the flip side, vaccinating equitably saves lives, stabilizes health systems, and would lead to a truly global economic recovery that stimulates job creation.
Speaking of vaccines, China has announced it is going to vaccinate all of its citizens from COVID-19 for free. Leader of the Vaccine Research and Development Team, Zheng Zhongwei, said the government will soon start the public immunization program after purchasing vaccines from local manufacturing enterprises. This comes as COVID-19 cases steadily increase in the north of Hubei province.
Our country will provide free COVID-19 vaccines to all people, which means people do not have to pay a single cent for the vaccine. Enterprises have cost in the research and development, production, storage, and transportation of the vaccines. As a result, enterprises will price the COVID-19 vaccine as a public good based on costs, and the relevant government departments will follow the corresponding procedures and buy from enterprises at relevant prices, and then provide the vaccine free for all.
Caribbean countries continue to struggle as nations with large economies rush to acquire COVID-19 vaccines. Now, the Bahamian health minister said his government is working hard to ensure citizens don't get left behind and are immunized within the first 3 months of 2021.
Those countries in the Caribbean who are receiving of COVID-19 vaccines, I think you would realize that they are all British protectorates. They're still a part of the United Kingdom, and a part of the UK's policy is it's distributing vaccines to its territory. So you'd find the Cayman Islands, Turks and Caicos, the British Virgin Islands, those entities receiving vaccines. As I would have said in my statement earlier, the Bahamas government is aggressively seeking to procure vaccines, and we're doing all that we can to ensure that in the first quarter of this year that we'll be able to present a viable vaccine to the Bahamian people.
Shifting gears now, people living in favelas across Brazil's Rio de Janeiro are struggling to make ends meet in the face of the crisis sparked by the coronavirus pandemic. This is coupled with cuts to state subsidies and government aid. Many rely on food donations from charities and NGOs and are forced to invent new ways to survive.
We use what we get from the little grass selling to buy something, ingredients, so that tomorrow we can make something else to sell. So we are struggling to survive, even more so with a child. We are in a pandemic with a child, and the government has cut off the aid, so we are trying to survive. The emergency aid has been cut off and we are in need because that was really helpful. And now that we have no aid, the bags of food that the CNIF is giving us are helping us a lot. Things are very, very difficult during this time of pandemic, you see, because if there already was unemployment, it's even worse now. My husband's not having any sales at work, so I'm relying on these food donations to survive. We realize that women in this community are vulnerable even if they receive emergency aid. Some do, others don't. So the help that our institution, Women's Centers, offers to these women is very important.
Moving on, Democratic Congress members are planning to introduce an article of impeachment against United States President Donald Trump on Monday after he incited the riot at the Capitol that resulted in 5 deaths. More than 150 Democrats have signed on to the article of impeachment drafted by Representatives David Cicilline, Ted Lieu, and Jamie Raskin, which accuses the president of inciting an insurrection. If passed, it would make Trump the first president in the history of the nation to be impeached twice. Meanwhile, Speaker Nancy Pelosi stated that all options are on the table if Trump does not leave office soon, including legislation to establish a commission under the 25th Amendment that could recommend the president's removal. Still in Washington, D.C., awaiting word from U.S. President Donald Trump is Argentine journalist and TeleSUR contributor Carlos Montero. Carlos is currently at the grounds outside the White House where Trump supporters had gathered last Wednesday before storming the Capitol. Carlos?
Thank you very much. I'm here in front of the White House. Donald Trump has only 11 more days to live in that gorgeous house behind me. On Monday, the Democrats are trying to impeach the president. Are they going to succeed? We don't know yet. It's really complicated, but something they are going to try to do because they think Donald Trump is responsible of what happened last Wednesday at the Capitol. How started everything? I want to explain you. I want to show you the place where I am. This place, this empty place right now is called the Cliffs. Here is where Donald Trump invite his followers to come for a mega march. That's the way he called it, a mega march to defend democracy. Here, imagine thousands of people. Donald Trump, he was talking from the White House to them. He said they want to rob the elections. It was a fraud. We have to defend our democracy. And he invited the thousands of people who were here to go to the Congress. The Congress is a kilometer, more or less, away from here. Those people follow the order of his leaders, and they went to the Congress. The Congress was going to certify Joe Biden as a winner of the elections. They went there, and you know what's happened. It was a crazy day. 5 people died. On Monday, the Justice Department and also the Congress, they are going to analyze if Donald Trump was responsible. We don't know what's going to happen. There are many things going on. I hope you can be with us because we are going to follow the story very closely. Donald Trump also is saying he's going to talk with the media. We think he's going to talk to Fox News, that's his favorite station. He cannot communicate anymore with his Twitter account. Twitter closed his account yesterday precisely because they think he is provoking violence. A lot of things are happening here in the capital of the USA. We are going to follow the story and going back with you guys.
Carlos Montero. Meanwhile, addressing a press conference on his administration's plans once in office, U.S. President-elect Joe Biden refused to weigh in on moves to impeach Donald Trump, instead saying that the matter is up to Congress.
What the Congress decides to do is for them to decide. But I'm going to have to, and they're going to have to be ready to hit the ground running, because when Kamala and I are sworn in, we're going to be introducing immediately significant pieces of legislation to deal with the virus, deal with the economy, and deal with economic growth. So we're going to do our job, and the Congress can decide how to proceed with theirs.
Furthermore, Biden has called on the Senate to confirm his cabinet nominees promptly and fairly, particularly those involved in national security.
This will be the first cabinet ever that is evenly composed with as many women as men in the cabinet. This will be the first cabinet ever with a majority of people of color occupying this cabinet. And it has more than a dozen history-making appointments, including the first woman Secretary of Treasury, the first African-American Defense Secretary, the first openly gay cabinet member, and the first Native American cabinet secretary. We're also on track. We named a record 50 high-level appointments that are subject to president confirmation, more than any president ever elected has done. We've done our job. We've begun my job of naming these people. It's my expectation and hope that the Senate will now move to confirm these nominees promptly and fairly.
We're taking one last break. Stay where you are. Welcome back. Snowstorms across much of Spain have left 4 people dead and has caused chaos in the country. On Friday, Madrid experienced its heaviest snowfalls since 1971 after what the weather agency described as exceptional and most likely historic conditions caused by Storm Filomena. Madrid's Barajas airport was shut down with traffic disrupted on nearly 400 roads. The Renfe rail network said all trains to and from Madrid have also been cancelled. Thousands of trapped motorists have reportedly been freed as more snowfall is expected throughout Saturday. 3 people were killed in Russia after an avalanche hit a resort in the Siberian city of Norilsk. A 38-year-old woman, her 48-year-old husband, and their 18-month-old child were among the dead. Meanwhile, a 14-year-old child was pulled from the snow and has been hospitalized with frostbite. Officials said the avalanche swept through a ski resort outside the Arctic city overnight. Emergency rescue workers are still searching for survivors. Russia's investigative committee has opened a criminal probe to determine if the building's owner had adequate safety measures in place.
There was an avalanche in Krasnoyarsk Krai. As a result, up to 6 buildings were buried under the snow. According to preliminary information, there may be people under the snow. Search and rescue operations are underway. The work of rescuers and volunteers made complicated by difficult weather conditions such as blizzards and strong winds.
At least 62 people on board an Indonesian Sriwijaya plane are feared dead, as the aircraft is believed to have crashed into the sea. The Boeing 737 is reported to have lost contact with air traffic control, and flight tracking data has indicated it might have plunged into a steep dive just minutes after takeoff. Jakarta airport officials have confirmed that 46 adults, 7 children and 3 infants were on board the craft, along with 6 crew members. Investigations are still ongoing.
Controllers at the Jakarta airport saw that the plane was not flying heading 75 degrees, but instead heading northwest. They asked the pilot to confirm heading. Not long after, within seconds, the plane went missing from the radar.
10 infants have been killed after a fire broke out in a hospital in the western part of India. The incident took place at a maternity ward inside the Bhandara District General Hospital in the state of Maharashtra. Most of the dead infants were less than 3 months old. Preliminary investigations suggest the fire was caused by an electrical short circuit. Very sad news out of India. Ethiopian refugees who fled conflict in the Tigray region have finally settled at a new camp in Sudan. The settlement was established by the United Nations High Commission for Refugees at the Tenedba camp in Mafaza, located in the east of the country. The UN Refugee Agency said it is still receiving new migrants as the Sudanese government has kept its borders open to allow free movement for asylum seekers.
We arrived here yesterday, after 2 months of displacement. We found the situation better here. Since we arrived, we found that cooked food and we ate. We stood in line for a quarter of an hour only, and we received our tent and settled in. The people who arrived before us have received everything: lights, solar panels, and donations.
With that, we've come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. And feel free to join us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. For TeleSUR English, I am Doris Polo. Thanks for watching.